welcome back to our final session today. And our final speaker is Andrew Hume, CEO of Pro Group. He's going to share the story of growth in the age of COVID. First, let's hear a little bit about Andrew. He doesn't know I'm going to do this. Andrew has been a leader in the Australian contact centre outsourcing BPO market for some 20 years. He is currently, as I said, CEO of Pro Group. Andrew has led the company's transformation into one of Australia's largest and leading contact centre orientated BPOs, having delivered more than 600% growth in the company's size over the last 3 years. Andrew has also held roles including CEO of Aegis, a global BPO, Managing Director of Hollard Financial Services, and before that, Salmat Contact Solutions, and also COO of Salesforce Australia. So Andrew's going to share with us how Pro grew by a stunning 66.2%, moving up 121 spots in the top 500 companies in Australia, and much of this was actually achieved during the COVID-19 pandemic, whilst many companies were closing their doors or placing themselves into hibernation. Over to you, Andrew. Looking forward to hearing the Probe story.
Thanks, Fiona, and hello, everybody. Lovely introduction. Thank you. No, I didn't know you were going to do that. I'm just trying to now work out actually how to just make sure I can go to the next slide. I did get told how to do this. I'm struggling with it. If I go there we go. Perfect. Okay, here we are. So yes, we actually were recognised just recently as the third fastest private company in terms of growth, and that was actually representing figures from last year. And if you add in this year as it's shaping up, we probably would come out number one. And what I'm going to do today is talk about at a macro level the things that we've been doing that have fueled that growth, given permission to that growth, and then I'll drill into some more specifics around COVID and things that have happened during this sort of past, what is it now, losing track, number of months we've been locked up, those of us down in Victoria. I've got to go down here. So they are in fact the numbers. You can see them there. We've taken what was a very specialist company back in 2016, providing one line of business, which was credit and collections, $35 odd million in turnover, and now grown it into arguably the largest player in this part of the world, with north of 600 million in turnover. And as you can see, there are some significant step-ups on the way through there, and a big one through this recent COVID phase. The key to our success has been a strategy that we architected, that we just define it in the context of one word: beyond. And it was about going beyond credit and collections and morphing our business into a mainstream customer experience service provider. So taking on board all work types around the customer lifecycle, from sales, onboarding, provisioning, service, loyalty, retention, and then through to where we started in recovery. And then we've extended the beyond strategy from customer experience through to shared services, and then again beyond to knowledge services. So continuing to expand our offering and broaden our array of capability in the market. Any good journey starts with a vision. You don't get somewhere if you don't sort of plot a view of where you want to get to. And in our case, we said that we wanted to become the most sought after and respected customer experience provider in the markets within which we choose to operate. And intentional words, because we have aspirations to be in more markets. So we're selectively choosing those as a part of the expansion strategy. But most importantly, we are passionately committed to doing it better. And that is in fact our purpose. We get up in the morning to deliver better outcomes for our clients. It fuels and guides everything we do, and everything we do is underpinned by a concept, passion, and in fact we call the culture in our organisation the passion culture, very critical to our success. So that strategy has enabled us to emerge and look like this. I'll just skip over this sort of quite quickly. We've now got everything you could think of from a delivery or product perspective in the customer experience field. We've extended through to shared services like finance and accounting related activity and technical help and support desks and through to very specialised knowledge services, and that's all sorts of different tasks from mortgage origination to content moderation, SEO, SEM support, web app development, etc. High evaluating tasks. We've emerged now as an organisation proudly employing some 12.5, actually closer to 13,000 people. They're employed across 5 countries. Pleasingly, and this links to something I'll talk about in a minute, some 6,000 of those are employed across Australia. So we've emerged as a very large employer in Australia, spanning most states from Victoria through New South Wales, Queensland and over in WA. And as I said earlier, north of 600 million in revenues. Very proudly, we were just recognised a month or so ago as the Frost and Sullivan leader. Very proud to have been recognised in that regard. So I was going to skip past that and get to here, which is where the real story starts. And I apologise if I'm showing my age, but I was an avid reader as a younger person of The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. And that was a classic story by Douglas Adams talking about, the meaning of life, the universe and everything. And I'm possibly overstating things, but I thought that was a nice segue to posing and answering a similarly intriguing question, and that is, how did we in fact grow during COVID? The answer to that question really resides in this image. And I have taken to surfing in recent times, and being someone locked up at home at the minute, I'm also aspiring to get down to the beach. So I sort of had to put this image into the presentation somewhere. But I'm going to start by answering the question, how did we grow during COVID, by reflecting on the macro trends in the industry and then drilling down to COVID more recently. So at a macro level, I actually consider that there have been 3 waves in the industry, certainly in terms of my tenure in it, and Fiona sort of pointed that out. It's spanned some 20 years. And the initial wave was really gave birth to outsourcing. And originally back then they were call centres. And there are a couple of companies that were leaders in the market at that point in time. One was a company called Salesforce, and that became Salmat Contact Solutions. And we bought that business as a part of our strategy to aggregate players and create a truly scaled Australian-owned provider. Big enough, strong enough, well capitalised enough to compete meaningfully on a global stage, and to really take the fight on to defend our turf against the big mega BPOs that are really crawling all over the world. We also, one of the birth companies back then was Stellar. We've acquired them this year. That completed. Looking at my calendar, it's the 29th of, tomorrow it'll be a month ago that transaction completed. So we did that through the COVID phase. And wave 2 really came along, and that was about globalisation and offshoring. And I just make the observation that that's here to stay and it's continuing to grow. It certainly is for us. I don't see any sign of that letting up. You've only got to look to the northern shores of Asia and the Philippines, and there's a market that's employing some 1.2 million people in BPO currently and growing. Wave 3 is closing in. In fact, it's more than closing in. It's here, and it's probably got a couple of little waves sort of bubbling around the big wave. And wave 3 was really about in my mind, a resurgence in domestic outsourcing. And that was really underway pre-COVID. And a lot of that was fueled by government and government appetite for the efficiency and productivity gains that outsourcing can deliver. But COVID really kicked it along, and it's fueled a mini repatriation wave. That's something we certainly leveraged from. And we did because we went early, moving our business into a work from home footing. So all the way back in March, we moved our Philippines business into work from home, and we looked at the success of that and said, look, if this is happening up there, it's going to happen here. So let's just push 10% of our business at home. And we did that. And then a couple of days later, we said, right, well, let's just go to 50. And we'll sit and wait now to see what the government does. So when the government here made its announcements, we were already well equipped to just flick the switch and go. Did the same thing in New Zealand. And so when everybody was having trouble, we weren't. We were fully operational everywhere across three countries at that point in time at home. So we had the bandwidth and the potential and the infrastructure, all being cloud based, to support a couple of trends that emerged in the market. One of those was triggered by offshore, and I should say we sorry, before I go on to that, we've added between Probe and Stella, which is sort of now one company, some 2,000 jobs onshore through that March-April period. And we've kept recruiting all the way through the lockdown phases. And some of that was temporary, and a lot of it is here to stay as organisations have tried to rethink their situations. It was really triggered by offshore failure. A lot of people operating offshore couldn't get set up at home fast enough. Equally, a lot of CEOs in Australia started making a call that, under this sort of spirit of nationalism, that it's better for their customer experience to be brought back onshore. And I think also there's a trend in there around BCP and risk management. Companies realising that perhaps their BCP plans were wonderful documents and worked if there was a typhoon, a sort of a single event, but no one had contemplated the impact of a pandemic. And so that widespread failure across countries like India, South Africa, Philippines was significant. And that fueled a whole lot of decisioning that bled into this sort of nationalistic sentiment. The other sort of big trigger of change really was what I call channel shift. A lot of organisations, particularly in and around retail and direct sale to consumers, pre-COVID might have had single-digit proportions of their business operating online, and very rapidly they found themselves in territory where they had some 50, 60% or more of their business volumes coming through online channels, digital channels. So massive migration to online, and overlapping that also there was there was and continues to be a big shift in adoption and usage of digital channels like instant messaging, which has really grown phenomenally at a phenomenal pace. And there are some big corporates in Australia really investing significantly into that as a way to underwrite repatriation decisions. Very easy for a CEO to say, bring everything back on shore. Equally easy for them to couple that with a comment, well, I'm not giving you any more money. So to enable it to make the decision work, there has to be a fundamental shift in cost base, and new media can help support that, instant messaging being one, and digital investment the other. So our business sort of benefited from each of those trends, and we were very active in market and very proud at that point in time to be helping so many Australians who had lost their job. And we set up direct channels of recruitment to really just onboard people with speed and gentle touch from organisations that had been disrupted, like airlines and gym companies and others. So that we were very proud of that outcome. That sort of also created this situation that we find somewhat interesting, that that we have sort of all moved into this work from home footing, and we're clearly of the view that work from home is here to stay. We had been involved in building a pure play work from home business many years ago, and are fundamental believers in the model. So we're delighted that the market has caught up with the benefits of that solutioning, and I think it's wonderful from a people perspective, because it enables people to choose how, where, and when they want to work, and that's the ultimate benefit. Some of us were desperate to go back to the office. Some of us already have, if you're not in Victoria. But some people have, don't want to. They don't want to crawl into a train and get squished on the way to work. They'd rather just stay working from home, and why not? So I think it's wonderful that our industry is in a position to really match work model to individual employment preference. Wonderful outcome. And equally, I think companies have learnt that digital really is the best form of business continuity planning, and linked to the business failure I talked about a moment ago. So, though leveraging those trends has really helped our business to accelerate growth, and we were able also through that period to continue the work we were doing with our acquisition and roll-up strategy, and hence that led us to the point where we could keep going with our due diligence on the Stellar acquisition and complete that investment, which really just transforms the shape of the local Australian market. I think very important for Australian business to have access to a big Australian-owned local provider, and so we're delighted to be able to create that outcome as well. Clicking right along, you'll see here, we all know this image, and it's the big rock. We all know about BHP being the big Australian. We've built really the biggest Australian-owned provider, as I said, a scaled Australasian organisation with serious global reach, and we've done that through organic growth and through investment, targeted strategic investment, and those investments have given us a Philippines scale, and that's important. That's helped us really grow. Scale does matter in our industry. Some companies only talk to service providers that are of a certain size because it demonstrates capacity and capability and resourcing. And equally, having a certain size and capital backing and strength of balance sheet really enables us to transform the way we partner and engage in conversations with our clients, and evolve from these sort of traditional transactional tactical outsourcing constructs to far more investment underwritten transformative arrangements. That's where we see the world going, and we're really front and centre in that, and getting bigger has helped us in that regard, given us a seat at the table where previously we may not have been considered. And as I said before, put on the boxing gloves, it helps us fend off the global raiders, which I think is good for Australia. Moving right along. So it's a bit clunky with these clicking. So that's the Southern Cross, and we all know about that and proudly salute it, given it's on our flag. It obviously was used, its original usage was as a guiding light for sailors. That's how they navigated to find south. And the message that I'm sort of sending here is that we see ourselves as, and are trying to be, the industry's guiding light. We want to be the go-to company for inspiration, ideas, best performance. We want to be the go-to, and not just for innovative, disruptive solutions, but equally, we want to be a destination employer. We're building a company really that provides the most wonderful career journeys for people, enables personal growth and development. And, why not? A lot of people pop out of university and, they want to go and work for Google or some company with some sort of cool name like that. I say they should come and work in the outsourcing customer experience industry, because we've got all the jobs, we represent all industries, all work types, and we can offer people incredible career journeys. So with an eye to that investment in people, that really I think is helping us grow, because it's enabling us to find and keep literally the best talent. Aligned to that comment is this spear, and the message that I'm sharing here is we're building a company in this part of the world that will be renowned as the digital-driven BPO. We're investing heavily into digital enablement. I call it tip of the spear, and we have in our business a very capable, sorry, that's my phone pinging, I'll just turn that off, consulting and customer experience design practice, and it does work from Lean Six Sigma process simplification, re-engineering, through journey mapping and user experience design and workforce optimization, which is increasingly critical as you start to blend and change operating models in the context of work from home and automation. And equally, automation opportunity identification, design, build, deploy, all things bots, back office, RPA, all the way through to virtual agent and chatbots. And in our case, very sophisticated natural language processing and biometric verification. We run very large scale enterprise natural language front doors for organisations, banks and government departments, but equally we've built through COVID, the ingenuity of people when the heat is on is always remarkable in my mind. We've built an incredible product called Oration that puts natural language front doors, open menu solutioning into the hands of every contact centre. You no longer need to be a massive organisation to get a business case up. All you've got to do is go to the Amazon online store, Foundry, and click a button and Oration will download, and you can, without an IT department involvement, insert it into your IVR, reduce handle time, improve customer experience, NPS overnight. Machine learning driven, so it's constantly improving. You should actually go to a little plug, sorry Fiona, go to our website and search for Oration and have a little demo of that. It's quite mind-blowing technology. Having those tools and capabilities available, again, has really fundamentally helped us grow. We've been engaged, and we are engaged now in a number of active engagements to design future operating models and bring them to life for our clients and prospective partners. And so, to summarise, really, we're growing, and we've grown through COVID because of our beyond strategy. As I said at the start, we went beyond collections. We doubled our business very quickly as a customer experience provider, and then doubled again, and that gave us permission to commence our aggregation strategy, roll-up strategy, and that got us to the initial acquisition of the Salmat Contact business. We've now made 4 fairly significant material acquisitions to extend and expand our capability. So we're also in this world of going beyond voice, where we can do all things virtual, chat, AI, virtual agents, as I mentioned, bringing everything to the table from a digital perspective. And then beyond borders, which means really no borders. Contact anywhere, remote, work from home, work in the office, automated, augmented to a human being from technology, new geographies. So beyond strategy for Probe has really fueled some quite phenomenal growth. And I think Fiona in her opening said 600 and something %. That was accurate at the time. I think the figure now, I skipped over it very quickly on one of my earlier slides, it's now 1,633% growth since we began this strategy. So quite phenomenal. I think in that regard, the future is fundamentally exciting. We're really working on reshaping our industry. As a business, all of our people are really together working to change the game, change the customer experience game, to really empower Australian business to be world-class when it comes to, better than world-class, when it comes to managing interactions with their customers. So I can rattle on for hours about all of this, but I might stop there and ask Fiona to ask if there are any questions.
So, Andrew, no questions at the moment, but I will make a comment. And the comment is, when we have industry leaders like yourself, how blessed are Auscontact to have you as one of our leaders on the board. It can only mean that Auscontact is also going to go from strength to strength with somebody with the vision and the drive that you bring to the table. And we're most appreciative of that. If you have any closing remarks, Andrew, you'd like to share.
Well, thank you. Look, I'm actually genuinely thrilled to be a part of Auscontact, and really personally excited to be on the board and sharing my experiences. We have a wonderful industry. It's so many people fall into it to start their career, and many just stay. And it's because we do collectively provide wonderful development for people, wonderful extension. And I think Auscontact plays a fundamental and critical role in underwriting that nationally. So personally, I'm really excited to be a part of that.
Thank you. Well, with that, I'm going to say congratulations on your 1,633% growth since you started on your journey. Thank you for sharing your insights. No need to apologise about sharing about oration. Anything that gives an opportunity for our members to improve, change, develop, challenge their thinking is a good thing. And that's actually our role in the industry, is to bring new thinking, innovation, and to create opportunities in partnership with organisations such as yours.